Multiple choice question, veterinary science and animal husbandry. Punched ulcers in abomasums of cattle are characteristics of Theileria annulata. Typical sign of ripened abscess is pointing. Operation Flood 1 was launched during 1970 when World Environmental Day is celebrated 5th June. Right displacement of abomasum is usually caused after 2 to 4 weeks postpartum. The term that refers to percentage of packed erythrocytes per unit volume of blood is the hematocrit. Which of the following enzymes are present in acrosome of bovine sperm? Acrosin. Which of the following is the smallest compartment of the ruminant stomach reticulum? Blood is added in blood medium agar at the following concentration 5 to 10%. The 5-carbon sugar compound present in DNA molecule is deoxyribose. Study of bloods which are not closed as poultry is known as ornithology. Inhibition of aggregation of platelets by aspirin. Gajrai grass is the fodder grass belongs to group perennial. Which of the following will be number of chromosomes in the sperm of a Sahiwal bull? 30. Skim milk powder is a byproduct of industry. East Coast fever in cattle is caused by Theileria. Wound does not heal is known as ulcer. 73rd Amendment Act 1992 was introduced to strengthen the panchayat development related to India. CFCs, chlorofluorocarbons, are responsible for depletion of ozone. Serum calcium and phosphorus concentration in nutritional dystrophies may remain within normal range. Which of the following is a circulating blood cell that is capable of differentiating into plasma cell? B. Lymphocyte. After ovulation, which of the following is most important for the rapid movement of the oocytes to the ampulla-isthmic junction of the oviduct? Muscle contractions in the ampulla. Which is the hardest substance in the body? Enamel. Nucleic acid present in virus is either DNA or RNA. The synthesis of new DNA strand on template strand takes place in the direction of 5 to 3. Study of birds which are classed as poultry is known as poultry science. Verapamil blocks transport of calcium ion. Calcium ion is blocked by verapamil. Subabul is the grass originated in the country of Mexico. Subabul. Genotype of purebred rose comb hen should be RRPP. Example of protein is amine. Cecal coccidiosis in fowl is due to the following: Emeria tinella. The main cause of death in case of burn during later stage is secondary infection. Ranching is common practice in Australia. Humidity is measured by wet bulb thermometer. Increased survival rate of Salmonella pullorum infected chick embryo is achieved by drug colistin. The component of plasma responsible for maintaining the osmotic pressure of blood is albumin. Following artificial insemination in the cow, increased retrograde flow will occur if semen is placed in which of the following locations? Cervix. Which is the largest foramen in the skull? Foramen magnum. Short hair-like projections for attachment and genetic transfer in bacteria are fimbriae. The autonomously replicating extrachromosomal double-stranded DNA molecule present in bacteria is plasmid. Modern chicken are descendants of which of the following world species? Gallus gallus. The most appropriate anticoagulant used for collection of blood for blood glucose estimation is sodium fluoride. Swath curing is the method applied to silage making. The strength of selection is expressed as coefficient of selection. Inflammation of lymph node is called as lymphadenitis. Example of NPN is amino acid. Non-protein nitrogenous compound is amino acid. Example of anaerobic protozoa is trichomonas. Last stage of wound healing is wound contraction. The approach in which people have their say in program planning is democratic. The metal should not be used for storage of rainwater is lead. Virion of avian infectious bronchitis virus has shape of crown-like projection. Plasma is the liquid portion of blood including the clotting factors. The concentration of sperm in the ejaculate would be highest among which of the following farm animal species? Ram. Which of the bone is the hardest bone in animal body? Pectorus temporal. The term antibody was first used by Waxman, the scientist associated with the discovery of restriction endonucleases is Kelly and Smith. National Institute of Nutrition to Government of India has recommended eggs and poultry meat consumption per capita per annum NMR 180 eggs and 9 kg of poultry meat. Receptors of CTZ stimulated by central acting emetics are dopamine. For ensiling, the fodder crop should contain moisture of 65 to 70%. What will the phenotypic ratio in progenies from a cross between creeper and normal fowl? 1:1. DCV content of guinea grass is 1%. Diseases of poultry which is not caused by a virus is chronic respiratory disease. Wild game is a reservoir host for which parasite Trypanosoma evensi. The best treatment of fistula is surgical removal. In IDRP, SC or ST and physical handicapped beneficiaries are provided subsidy at the rate of 50%. Indian related MCQ. Among following is the safest source of drinking water? Deep well. If vomition due to metabolic acidosis, suggested fluid therapy is ringer lactate. Excessive destruction of erythrocytes is characterized by hemolytic anemia. Which of the following are examples of maturation function in epididymis? Removal of protoplasmic droplets. Which of the following is tendinous linear sheath present at the abdominal floor? Linear alba. Agar is the source of carbohydrate to none of the bacteria. The acquisition of DNA molecule by bacterial cells from environment is called transformation. First poultry show was held at Boston in the year 1849. Agar acts as bulk purgative. Mango seed kernel is byproduct of canning industry. Proportion, proportion of roan-polled progenies from crossbred red-polled and white-polled cow will be 0.75. It is the proportion of roan-polled progenies from crossbreed between red-polled and white-polled cow. Bronze discoloration of liver in poultry by salmonellosis. Rich source of carbohydrates is barley. Tapeworm increases in cecum. Typical sign of moist gangrene of tail is cold to touch. In first 5-year plan, key village scheme program was started for development of animal husbandry in India. Causative agent of undulate fever is Brucella abortus. Coughing up of blood is termed as hemoptysis. A hematocrit of 80 would be considered polycythemia. The ATP produced by sperm goes towards which of the following? The ATP produced by sperm goes towards which of the following? Motility. Which of the following is the longest ligament in the animal body? Supraspinatus ligament. Bacteria that grow at 50 to 55 degrees centigrade are known as thermophiles. The ability of the cell to acquire DNA from environment is called competence. Per capita availability of poultry eggs and meat are 14 and 1.76 kg respectively. Acid rebound effect is observed with sodium bicarbonate. Rotational stocking is the method of grazing of animal. The crossover percentage ranges between 0 to 50%. Fragmentation of nucleus in cell is termed as karyorrhexis. Concentrate is a food containing more percentage of total digestible nutrients 60. Triangular and pyriform apparatus like cooked rice grain present in egg of Monazius species. Common site of occurrence of hematoma of dog is ear. Prime goal of State Department of Animal Husbandry and Dairying is to provide service to the farmers. The causative agent of high TDS is Echinococcus granulosa. Tiakosin is excessive secretion from Brunner's gland. Tiakosin is the excessive secretion from Brunner's gland. During hemoglobin recycling in the spleen, heme is initially converted into bilirubin. Failure to the blood-testis barrier would directly prevent meiosis. Which of the following is unpaired skeletal muscle present in the animal body diaphragm? Nucleic acid not found in plasmids is RNA. First genome sequence was of bacteriophage lambda X174. X174 bacteriophage was the first genome sequenced. Total contribution of poultry production of national GDP of India is nearly 1%. Which of the following is a rate limiting step in adrenaline synthesis? Dopa to dopamine. The synonym of Anjan grass is Dhaman. Slow and fast feathering trait in poultry is sex-linked. Infectious necrotic hepatitis in sheep is caused by Clostridium species. Green fodder to be ensiled should have DM between 30 to 35%. All domestic animal is definitive host for which of the following Taenia species? The best suture material for peritoneum in dog is catgut number 1/0. Programmed is the statement of situation, objectives, problem, and solution. Programmed is the statement of situation, objectives, problem, and solution. Seller's staining technique is used for the diagnosis of rabies. Tympany of diaphragmatic hernia is recurrent. All of the following conditions impair coagulation except vascular spasm. Spherical bodies weighing 0.45 to 0.9 kg attached to the placenta of normal calf, comprising of an outer skin enclosing a mass of adipose connective tissue, is known as amorphous globosus. Which one of the following is the longest nerve in the animal body? Vagus nerve. Disposable articles are best sterilized by gamma radiation. First bacterial genome sequenced was of Haemophilus influenza. Female hen has the following set of chromosomes XW. XW is the set of chromosomes in female hen. Which of the following drug is used in treating digitalis erythemia? Quinidine. Medicago is the botanical name of alfalfa. Stage of cell division in which chiasma formation takes place is pachytene. Stage of division in which chiasmata formation takes place is pachytene. The animal resistant to atherosclerosis is cattle. Lucerne hay contains 50% of TDN. In which tapeworm uterus is long, transverse, and dumbbell shaped? Stylasia hepatica. Which of the following is unpaired skeletal muscle present in animal body diaphragm? Which of the following is the longest nerve in animal body? Vagus nerve. Which of the following is the longest nerve in animal body? Sciatic nerve. Longest nerve in animal body is vagus and largest nerve in animal body is sciatic. Which of the following nerves supply to blood vessel? Vasomotor. Vasomotor nerves supplying to blood vessel. Which of the following is a spindle shaped glandular stomach of bird? Which of the following is spindle-shaped glandular stomach of bird proventriculus? In modern smokehouse, we can control temperature. Which of the following is an opening of abomasum into duodenum? Pylorus. Stage of cell division in which chiasmata formation takes place is Pectine. The frequency for any class that is obtained by dividing the frequency for that class by the total number of observations is known as relative frequency. The dose of a drug that kills 50% of population is LD50. Exchange of non-homologous chromosome material is known as translocation. The term gene and genotype was coined by Johansen. Spherical bodies weighing 0.45 to 0.9 kg attached to the placenta of normal calf, comprising of an outer skin enclosing a mass of adipose connective tissue, is known as amorphous globosus. Obturator paralysis is more common in cow. Early insemination during estrus lead to the fertilization failure due to aging of sperms. The relations of the dorsum of the fetus to the quadrants of maternal pelvis is position. Sterno-abdominal presentation is a transverse ventral presentation. Sternal abdominal presentation is a transverse ventral presentation. Balwant Ray Mehta committee was appointed by Planning Commission. Post is example of visual aid. Who is the architect of Indian modern dairy industry? V. Kuriam Doctor. Operation Flood 3 was launched during 1986. The synonym of Anjan grass is Dhaman. Medica augusta is the botanical name of alfalfa. The nitrogen content of urea fertilizer is 42%. Licking of wall is the vices observed in animal due to all of above as mineral deficiencies, internal parasites, and depraved appetite. Wind sucking is the voice observed in horse. Mediterranean chicken breed egg shell color is white. American chicken breed skin color is yellow. Medusa head colonies are a characteristic feature of Bacillus anthracis. Ringworm infection is caused by Trichophyton species. Curdling without pronounced acid production associated with milk and milk products is sweet curdling. Type of microbial association in which food chain metabolic products of one are utilized by other is fermentation. Which of the following breeds of class is known for egg production? Mediterranean breeds. Which of the following breeds of class has feathered shank? Asiatic breeds. Which of the following is the smallest tapeworm of poultry? Deveinia proglottina. Deveinia proglottina is the smallest tapeworm of poultry. Indian liver fluke is which of the following physiology genetica? Ovary, much lobulated in which of the following prosthogonymous species? Hemoglobin urea is seen in leptospirosis. Who is the father of cellular pathology? Rudolf Virchow. Pseudorabies is caused by herpes virus. Pulpy kidney disease is caused by Clostridium perfringens. Turkey egg kidney is seen in swine fever. Antiseptics used for cleaning of eye is boric acid. More than two fracture fragments with interconnecting fracture line is complete fracture is known as comminuted fracture. More than two fracture fragments with interconnecting fracture line in complete fracture is known as comminuted fracture. Pathognomic sign of fructose is crepitation. Pathognomic sign of fracture is crepitation. Which of the following is unicellular gland that is typically found in mucosal epithelium? Goblet cell. Which of the following cells is primarily responsible for the production of collagen and the amorphous ground substance in loose connective tissue? Fibroblast. Which of the following describes a secretory process in which no cell membrane components or cytosolic contents are lost? Merocrine. The matrix of connective tissue is composed of fibrous and ground substance. Following is not an effective of the ganglionic blockade. Anhydrosis. Magnesium sulfate has following effects except diuretic. Its effects are CNS depressant, purgative, and muscle relaxant. Which of the following is an osmotic diuretic? Spironolactone, which is the site of action of carbonic anhydrase inhibitors, PCT. Viruses having reverse transcription enzymes are retroviruses. Holoenzyme is a combination of apoenzyme and coenzyme. Following statements are correct except viral genetic information resides only in DNA, not in RNA. First genome sequence was of bacteriophage X174, delta X174. Which bacterial genome sequence was of? First bacterial genome sequence was of Haemophilus influenza. First human protein produced in microorganism was somatostatin. The intercalating dye used to visualize double-stranded DNA is carbylphosphine. The concentration of double-stranded DNA molecule which gives absorbance. Do not know. The concentration of single-stranded DNA molecule which gives abundance value of 1 to 1 at 260 nanometer is 33 microgram per ml. Which of the following cell lines the ventricle of brain? Which of the following cells lines the ventricle of brain? Ependymal cell. Ependymal cells lines the ventricle of the brain. The bony demarcation between abdomen and pelvic cavities is pelvic brim. In which part of the cloaca in birds of Fabricius opens? Proctoderm. Which is the space between right and left pleural sac in thoracic cavity? Mediastinum. Which of the following is the largest vein in animal body? Posterior vena cava. Which of the following is the longest bone in birds? Tibiotarsal. Mendel's work was rediscovered in 1900. Hollandric inheritance is characterized by hair in ear pinna. Hemophilia is condition which is inherited as sex-linked. The method of sex determination in birds is X0. Linkage between either dominant or recessive alleles is called coupling linkage. The diploid chromosome number in chicken is 78. Wry neck is most commonly in equine. Recommended phlebotomy procedure in Prosopis lumbis is transverse division of fetal trunk. Generally, stallion attains the puberty at age of 12 to 24 months. Sertoli cell tumors of the testes in dogs secretes estrogen. Dystrophia adiposogenitalis is observed in dog. A large number of primary sperm abnormalities are indicative of testicular degeneration. When arable farming is mixed with livestock raising, it is known as mixed farming. When arable farming is mixed with livestock farming, it is known as mixed farming. Village sarpanch is elected through secret ballot paper. Amul system of milk marketing follows the principle of cooperative. GCMMF has made turnover of Rs 6,700 crore. Who is the chairman of GCMMF? Prathi Batul. Rural Dairy Extension Program was the part and parcel of ICDP. Electronic identity is made in animal by electronic chip. This measurement of body has close relation with body weight in animal heart girth. Blanketing is the practice utilized for all of above, as brighter look to body coat to keep hide in good condition, referred hair health. Wedge-shaped body denotes dairy character. Colostrum feeding in the calf should be done at within 2 hours after calving. Age at first kidding in Mehsani goat breed is 18 to 24 months. Which state ranked first in duck population? West Bengal. Project Directorate on PDP poultry is located at Hyderabad. Central Avian Research Institute Kari is located in Izzatnagar. Normally, which ovary and oviduct is functional in chicken? Left ovary and left oviduct. Complete parts of oviduct in chronological order are infundibulum, magnum, isthmus, uterus, vagina. Infundibulum, magnum, isthmus, uterus, vagina. Infundibulum, magnum, isthmus, uterus, vagina. IUV. Fertilization is take place in which part of reproductive tract? Infundibulum. Chloramphenicol residues and milk products causes in consumers blindness. Chloramphenicol residues and milk products causes blindness in consumers. Well established protozoan disease transmitted through milk is toxoplasmosis. Insecticides of group that constitutes the principal health hazard to consumers of milk and organic phosphates and milk products. Organic phosphates are the insecticides of group that constitute the principal health hazard to consumers of milk and milk products. The following acid producing bacteria convert lactose into lactic acid in milk. Streptococcus cremoris. The most common bacterium causing joint pain is Brucella. Galactotoxin in milk are produced by contact of milk with copper vessel. Praziquantel and tartar emetics is drug of choice for schistosoma species. In schistosoma, which of the following statement is true? Female is longer than male. Flame cell is excretory system of which of the following? Trematodes. Normally, eggs are operculated in which of the following? Trematode. Out of which of the following are unsegmented? Both of above. Grapeworm of poultry is Syngamus trichi. Polyvill in horse is caused by both B and C as Actinomyces bovis and Brucella abortus. Nutritional rope in poultry is caused by deficiency of vitamin A. Epithelial pearls are seen in squamous cell carcinoma. Blue tongue in sheep is caused by orbivirus. Most common serotype of FMD virus in India is O. In Pakistan are A, O and C. In which diseases post-mortem of carcass is prohibited? Anthrax. The water used for moistening of POP, plaster of Paris cast should range between 30 to 35 degrees centigrade. The best procedure for complete diaphyseal fracture of tibia in bull is Thomas splint. If fracture is stabilized with rigid fixation, the clinical union occurs at 40 to 50 days. Typical radiographic sign of osteoarthritis is irregular joint space with new bony growth. The radiographic signs of non-union is rounding of both fragments. The radiographic diagnosis of intestinal obstruction is done by using barium sulfate. Holocrine secretion occurs in sebaceous glands. The site of production of cholecystokinin are secreted in the small intestine. Alkaline mucus glands are found in submucosa of duodenum. Gallbladder stores the concentration of bile. The gallbladder stores and concentrates bile. Which of the following sphincters is usually voluntary control? External anal. At the junction between esophagus and the stomach, the epithelial lining changes abruptly from non-keratinized stratified squamous to simple columnar. At the junction between esophagus and stomach, the epithelial lining changes abruptly from non-keratinized squamous epithelium to simple columnar. Which of the following has maximum natriuretic effect? Furosemide. Furosemide has the maximum natriuretic effect. Following is not an indication of PGF2 alpha cystic ovaries. PGF2 alpha are indicated in synchronization of estrus persistent corpus luteum and induction of abortion. In which of the following animals emetics are not used? Kettles. Emetics can be used in rats and horse. Which of the following drug produces only laxative effect even with increase in dose? Liquid paraffin. One of the following is not salt of bunamidine used against histodal infestation in animals. Bunamidine hydrochloride. Bunamidine petolin sulfonate, bunamide sodium, and bunamidine hydroxynaphthoate can be used against strodal infection. The salts of bunamidine against strodal infections are bunamidine hydroxynephthalate, bunamidine sodium, bunamidine p-toluene sulfonate, and that is not used is bunamidine hydrochloride. Bunamidine hydrochloride can never be used. Source of bacitracin is Bacillus subtilis. The most effective chemical disinfectant to kill FMD virus is 2% sodium hydroxide. Hendra and Nympha virus belongs to family Paramyxoviridae. Clinical manifestation of canine parvovirus infection is all of above, as myocarditis in pups, hemorrhagic diarrhea, and leukopenia. Blue tongue virus has 24 serotypes. Find the wrong match. All are correct, as boral bodies are seen in foulpox. Smallpox has guarneri bodies and rabies has nigri bodies. Foulpox has boral bodies, smallpox guarneri bodies, rabies nigri bodies. Bovine diarrhea virus belongs to Flaviviridae. Viral triad include rinderpest virus, measles virus, and canine distemper virus. The concentration of single-stranded RNA molecule which gives absorbance value of 1 at 216 nanometer is 40 microgram per ml. It is the concentration of single-stranded RNA molecule which gives absorption value of 1 at 216 nanometer, 40 microgram per ml. The 260 to 80 nanometer ratio of pure DNA sample should be 1.8. The 260 to 80 nanometer ratio less than 1.8 for DNA sample reflects protein contamination. Oligo-DDD attached to resin is used for the column-based isolation of eukaryotic messenger RNA. Eukaryotic messenger RNA can be isolated by oligo-DDD attached to resin. The chemical that can be used for precipitation of DNA is ethyl alcohol. The chemical method of DNA sequencing is Maxam-Gilbert method. Which of the following is an oval articular projection? Condyle. Which of the following is ventricle of hindbrain? Fourth ventricle is ventricle of hindbrain. Which of the following is spherical, shallow, and articular depression? Glenoid cavity is a spherical, shallow articular depression. Cell membranes is mainly composed of a phospholipids bilayer. Which organelle is the site for ATP production? Mitochondria. During which stage mitosis do the chromosomes line up in middle of the cell? Metaphase. Which of the following is not a connective tissue? Muscle. The point of crossover is known as chiasma. The maximum probability of making type 1 error is known as level of significance. Which of the following traits will show higher rate of genetic improvement under mass selection program? Body weight at 8 weeks in poultry. Diallele crossing is usually practiced in poultry. Poultry usually uses diallele crossing. Marker assisted selection is more effective for the traits of low heritability. Marker assisted selection. Operation Flood scheme was operated by L&DDD Anand. Inbreeding would more severely affect maturing body weight in doe. Smooth muscle around spermatic cord to help in thermoregulation of testes is cremaster muscle. Mitochondria concentrates close to the axoneme and forms the midpiece of the tail. Unnatural tactile stimulation and ejaculation is known as onanism. A complete series of cellular association along a seminiferal tubule is spermatogenic wave. Terminology used for higher percent of abnormal sperms is teratozospermia. Teratozospermia is the terminology for high percent of abnormal sperms. Inability to withdraw the penis back into prepuce is paraphimosis. Paraphimosis is the inability to withdraw the penis back in the prepuce. Effect of novelty of stimulus females. Reduced refractory period in males is known as Bruce effect. Bruce effect is the effect of novelty of stimulus. Females reduces refractory period in males. Sabramartri Ashram Goshala founded in 1925. Central Council of Goshwardhan was started in 1952. State farming is managed by government and Nidri is located in Jaipur. CSWRI is located in Avikangar. In mixed farming, income from main enterprise is 49%. LDDD was established in 1965. Crone is the synonym of old-aged Eve. Old-aged Eve is known as crone. The average lifespan of horse is 3 to 15 years. So Nandini is crossbreed developed from local cattle Kerala. Simmental is the breed of cow belong to breed exotic. This breed not belong to Mysore type cattle group Nimari. Buffalo in Philippines is known as Carabo. Carabo is the buffalo in Philippines. The breed that does not belong to Mysore is Nimari. The buffalo breed is come under indigenous categories is Bhadavari. The inner surface of which secretion of oviduct is lined with globlet cell that secrete albumin magnum. Double yolked egg is more common in pullet, hence usually molt in which of the following order: head, neck, body, wing, tail. The order of disappearance of pigment bleaching from body is vent, eye ring, earlobes, beak, shank. The pigment first leaves those structures having best blood circulation. The uropharyngeal gland is located on dorsal area of tail. Most chicken breeds have how many number of toes on each feet? 4. Immediate test to judge the quality of milk is organoleptic tests. Psychrophiles of significance in milk hygiene is both A and B. Pseudomonas and Listeria monocytogenes. Cold sterilization means flash pasteurization. Anthrax is also called as splenic fever. Trichinella cyst can be destroyed by salting. Scrapie is a progressive fatal disease of central nervous system. Knots technique is a concentration method for detection of following parasites in blood. Microfilaria can be detected by Knots technique, which parasite cause destruction of host tissue by breakage of lymph vessels. Filariates, Oxyrus equi in horse, found in which of the following: cecum, colon, and rectum. Presence of eggs of the Oxyrus equi can be diagnosed by a perianal swab. Alimentary canal present in which of the following nematodes? Which of the following is the kidney worm of dog? Dictyophyma renale, in which egg are lemon shaped and with plug on both sides of egg. Trichuris species. Mad itch is mostly a disease of swine. Triglyceride heart is seen in cattle affected with foot and mouth disease. Triglyceride heart. Triglyceride heart. Wooden tongue in cattle is seen in actinobacillosis. Mode of transmission of infectious bovine rhinotrichitis virus is both ventral and venereal and inhalation. MAID is primarily a disease of sheep affecting respiratory system. Equine plague is also called as African horse sickness. Sore mouth in cattle is seen in vesicular stomatitis. Protective wears for radiography are made up of lead. The best treatment of long bone fracture is bone plating. Suturing of lacerated nostril is performed under nerve block infraorbital. Extirpation of incisor tooth in cattle is performed under nerve block mandibular. The best anesthetic technique for laparotomy in cattle is paravertebral. Docking in adult dog is performed under general anesthesia. General anesthesia of equine is preferred nowadays by using xylazine plus ketamine. Histologically, the stomach wall is unique because it contains one extra layer in its muscularis externa. The gastric gland cell, whose absence could lead to pernicious anemia, is the parietal cell. The layer of digestive tube wall, which contains blood vessels, lymphatic nodules, and a rich supply of elastic fibers, is submucosa. Mechanical digestion occurs in stomach. The entry of bile into duodenum is controlled by none of above. The major function of large intestine is to remove waste materials. Which of the following is not produced by enteroendocrine cell pepsin? An anti-estrogen used in advanced breast cancer is tamoxifen. Tamoxifen, a semi-synthetic derivative of diterpene, is tiamulin, drug used as an anthelmintic by producing its effect by GABA-mediated hyperpolarization is ivermectin. Kanamycin derivative is amikacin. Polymyxin is used as novobiocin, an agent used against anaerobic bacteria as well as protozoa is metronidazole. Neomycin B is also known as tobramycin. Flavivirid is single-stranded RNA. Following are the morbilliviruses except mumps virus. Following is the characters of Streptococcus, all of above. Streptococcus are gram-positive cocci, catalase negative, and arranged in chain. Cold enrichment is required for the isolation of Listeria monocytogenes. Bacteria responsible for food poisoning are all Staph aureus, Clostridium botulinum, and Bacillus cereus. Dysgonic species of Mycobacteria is Mycobacterium bovis. Satellite growth on blood agar plate in presence of Staph aureus is characteristics of Haemophilus. The deoxy chain termination method of DNA sequencing is Sanger's method. The pH of tris-saturated phenol used for purpose of DNA isolation should be 8. 8 should be the pH of tris-saturated phenol used for DNA isolation. DNA molecule as big as 10 megabase pairs can be separated by pulse field electrophoresis. The blotting technique for detection of DNA is Southern blot. Blotting technique for detection of RNA is Western blot. Southern detects DNA and Western detects RNA, and protein is detected by Western blot. In Southern blot, the labeled nucleic acid used to detect complementary sequence is called probe. Which type of tissue covers the external and internal surface of body? Epithelial. What is found within the peritoneal cavity? Peritoneal fluid. Which of the following is splanchnic bone? Os cordis is a splanchnic bone. In ox, which of the following joints is an example of amphiarthrosis? Arthrosis. Ischiopubic symphysis. Ischiopubic symphysis is an example of amphiarthrosis. What is the unit of contraction of muscle? Sarcomere. Which of the following muscle is not component of Achilles tendon? Semimembranous is not component of Achilles tendon. The component of Achilles tendon are biceps femoris, semitendinosus, and superficial digital flexor. Which of the following structures is not part of peripheral nervous system? Hypothalamus is not the part of peripheral nervous system. Peripheral nervous system comprises of cranial nerve 5, spinal nerves supplying the intercostal muscles, and a neuromuscular junction. The pons, medulla, and cerebellum together form the hindbrain. Testosterone is secreted by cells of Leydig. In the fetal circulation, the shunt that connects the pulmonary artery and aorta is called ductus arteriosus. Genetic drift in small population is an example of dispersive process. The maximum frequency of recombinant progeny is 50%. The diploid number of chromosomes are equal in cattle and dog. A negative correlation coefficient between the two variables x and y indicates that large values of x are associated with small values of y. Which of the following chemical is used as mutagen? Mustard gas. Which of the following is sex-linked trait in poultry? Bring pattern of plumage. The difference between mean phenotypic values of progeny of selected parents and whole population before selection is known as selection differential. Scent glands, source of pheromones, located dorsally and medially at the horns of buck. Sertoli cells produces the protein hormone which suppresses and the production of FSH inhibin. Inhibin or Sertoli cells produces the uh, inhibin Sertoli cells inhibin which suppresses FSH. Spreading of adherent acrosomal granule over the surface of spermatid nucleus is cap phase. Infertility in bull due to inability to fertilize is testicular hypoplasia. The penile protrusion is followed by a mounting. The required number of progressive motile sperms at A in cattle is 10 millions. Presence of musculo-membranous attachment on ventral aspect of glans penis is penile frenulum. Eccentrically placed thickening of acrosome is known as knobed spermatozoa. Flehman's reaction is not observed in boar. Flehman's reaction is observed in bull, stallion, and ram. Bicornual transverse presentation is more common in mare. The first veterinary college was started in 1886 at Mumbai. The first dairy cooperative was started in year 1930 at Allahabad. Toxic jaundice is also known as hepatic jaundice. Cirrhosis or siderosis means deposition of iron in lung. Vanderberg test for obstructive jaundice is direct test. In abscess, which type of necrosis is seen? Liquefactive necrosis is in abscess. First change after death is alger mortis. Inflammation of crop is inguinalitis. Inguinalitis is the inflammation of crop. Cartwheel appearance of nucleus is found in plasma cell. Extreme elevation of leukocyte in peripheral blood is known as leukemia reaction. Blood in vomitus is hematemesis. Hematemesis is blood in vomitus. Blood from the oviduct is designated as hemosalpinx. Blood from oviduct is designated as hemosalpinx. Condition which is hereditary and sex linked in which clotting is delayed is hemophilia. On the basis of rainfall, temperature, and soil, the country can be divided into 5 regions. Small scale farming, also known as family farming. Secretary of Panchayat Samiti is TDO. National Institute of Rural Development is located in Hyderabad. Specialized farm income from main enterprise is more than 50%. First veterinary university was established in 1986 at Chennai. Contribution of sight in learning is 87%. Two forms of social stratification is caste class. Caste class is the two forms of social stratification. Tagore in Karnataka is breeding farm for none of these. Malas are the professional breeder for Ongole. This breed produces premium market milk due to yellow color of milk. Guernsey Guernsey is the breed that produces premium market milk due to yellow color. Russian calculation for individual animal does not require pregnancy. Maize fodder is comes under the good grade quality of fodder. Maize fodder is good grade graded. This practice is not come under milking method and knuckling. Knuckling is not in milking method. This practice does not require for sexual stimulation in bull restraining mount. The score points for cow graded very good are 85 to 90. The key village scheme was launched in India during first 5-year plan. Operation Flood project received donation of butter, oil and skim milk from European Economic Community. In poultry, true stomach is proventriculus. The end product of protein metabolism in poultry is uric acid. Which type of egg producer molt late in season and rapidly? Good egg producer molts late in the season and rapidly. Which type of egg producer molt early in the season and slowly? Poor egg producer. Forced molting is done by all of above as withdrawal of feed and water, withdrawal of light, and increased level of dietary zinc. Cold room temperature for hatching egg storage is cold room temperature for hatching egg storage is 58 to 62 degree Fahrenheit. Setter temperature for hatching is 99 to 100 degree Fahrenheit. Hatcher is Hatcher temperature is 98 to 99 degree Fahrenheit. Hatcher temperature is 1 degree less than that of setter temperature. Physiological zero temperature below which embryo growth is arrested is 75 degree Fahrenheit. Positioning of hatching egg in setter is border and up. Emaciation in milk is caused by pathological conditions. Clostridium botulinum secretes toxin under anaerobic condition. In sheep, the normal arterial blood pressure is 120 to 145 mm of mercury. Unconventional meat is beef. Bulling test on meat detects odor. Electrical stunning is widely used in pigs and poultry. Study of organism in relation to environment is known as ecology. Which disease is ectoparasitic zoonosis? Scabies. How to control reservoir in infection? Treatment. Rabies is also known as Lyssa virus disease, Rage disease, RAGE, and Talbot disease, TALLWUT. Lyssa, Rage, and Talbot. Lyssa, Rage, and Talbot is known to rabies. Spinocerebellar tick mainly pathogenic in which of the following stage it is? Spinocerebellar tick is pathogenic in all stages at larval, nymphal, and adult. The chief cause of strike in sheep is larva of Lucilia. Larva of Lucilia causes strike in sheep. Second intermediate host of oviduct fluke are dragonflies. Insect which possess sponging mouth parts and do not bite are houseflies. Scientific name of horsefly is Thebanius equinum. Thebanius equinum possesses sponging mouthparts and do not bite. Houseflies. Housefly has sponging mouthparts and horsefly is Thebanius equinum. Which of the following is non-granular white blood cell? Lymphocytes are not granulocytes or agranulocytes. In classification of helminthes, the higher taxa, platyhelminthes, containing helminthes of veterinary importance are flatworm. In filarial nematode, the life cycle is indirect. Morocco leather condition is caused by Ostrategia ostratigae. Ostrategia causes Morocco leather condition. Strongylus vulgaris is responsible for colic in horse. Bunostomum trigonocephalum is hookworm of sheep and goat. Disease caused by Clostridium septicum is brachy. Sulfur granules in yellowish pus is seen in actinomycosis. Toxins of organism causes peripheral nerve paralysis. In cattle is botulism. Diamond skin disease is primarily a disease of sow. In jaundice disease, corrugation is not featured in both B and C as sheep and horse. Most susceptible species for hemorrhagic septicemia is buffalo. Erythritol sugar plays important role in pathogenesis of Brucella species. Substance responsible for increased penetration of lysoviruses, hyaluronidase. Crop mycosis in poultry is caused by fungi. Brooder pneumonia in poultry is caused by Aspergillus fumigatus. The best general anesthetic for canine is thiopental. To deliver live pups, Caesarean section is performed under diazepam plus local anesthesia. To capture wild elephant, anesthesia used is etorphine. Etorphine is used to capture elephant. The sedation in camel is performed by using xylazine intravenously 8 to 10 ml. 8 to 10 ml IV of xylazine to sedate the camel. The best inhalation anesthetic for closed circuit is cyclopropane. Deep chested dog is prone to following surgical condition: gastric dilatation and torsion. Pathognomic sign of sharp molar is all of above, as squeezing, halitosis, and salivation. The development of pouch in lower neck just after feeding in case of buffalo is noticed in esophageal diverticulum. Continuous lacrimation in canine is characteristic sign of obstruction of lacrimal duct. Myringotomy in canine is performed for the correction of otitis interna. Each of the following is an amino acid except TSH. Thyroid stimulating hormone is not an amino acid. Epinephrine, melatonin, and thyroxine are amino acids, while not is the TSH. Thyroid stimulating hormone is not amino acid derivative. Which of the following hormones does not act via a second messenger system? Testosterone. What hypophyseal structure receives signs from the hypothalamus via the adenohypophysis? What hypophyseal structure receives signals from the hypothalamus via the hypophyseal portal system? It is adenohypophysis. Low blood glucose typically results in the secretion of all of the following except PTH. What hormone increases the intestinal calcium absorption? Calcitriol. Calcitriol increases intestinal calcium absorption. The beta cells of pancreas secrete insulin. Oxytocin is secreted by pars intermediata. Pars intermedia secretes oxytocin. Hyposecretion of cortisol can cause Addison's disease. The space in the middle of thoracic cavity where heart resides is the mediastinum. The foramen ovale in the fetal heart is located in the interarterial septum. In body, natobimine is converted into albendazole. Which of the following are not anesthetic? Phencyclidine. Phencyclidine is not anesthetic. Xylazine, ketamine, and cyclopropane are anesthetic. Diazepam does not possess the following action. Diazepam does not possess analgesic action. Diazepam is sedative, it is anticonvulsant, and anxiolytic. The full life of drug is usually approximately twice its half-life. The following is not phenothiazine derivative: reserpine. Xylazine does not have the following effect: antipyretic. Which one of the following has high water to lipid partition coefficient? Ether. With which of the following anesthetic is eructation reflex not affected? Ketamine is an anesthetic which do not affect the eructation reflex. Eructation reflex is affected by xylazine, phenobarbital, and equithecin, whereas eructation reflex is not affected by ketamine. Which of the following statements is false? Thiopentone is administered by intramuscular route. Thiopentone cannot be administered by intramuscular route. But thiopentone is ultra short acting barbiturate. It is true that thiopentone is ultra short acting barbiturate. It is true that thiopentone administered typically shows barbiturate apnea. It is true that thiopentone is yellowish powder used as sodium salt, but thiopentone cannot be administered by intramuscular route. Which of the following is an example of physical antagonism? Administration of activated charcoal in poisoning. The body weight of sheep is in which best quality wool is found is shoulder. A growing female sheep between 6 to 9 months of maturity is hogget. Hogget is a growing female sheep between 6 months to maturity. Native place of Senum is Switzerland. Switzerland is the native place for Senum. Major breeding season of Indian sheep is June to August. June to August is the major breeding season for sheep. The term used for meat of rabbit is venison. Venison is the meat of rabbit. Chivan is the meat of goat. Location of rabbit breeding from farm in Gujarat is Mandvi. India has total number of sheep breeds 40. Gurej sheep breed is found in Jammu and Kashmir. Spiti is the horse breed found at Himachal Pradesh. Disease found in sheep during monsoon is foot rot. Foot rot is the disease of sheep during monsoon. Bacteria which require living medium for their growth is chlamydia and rickettsia. Palisade arrangement is characteristic of Corynebacterium. Mycoplasma organelles are pleomorphic in nature due to absence of rigid cell wall. Periodic ophthalmia in horse is sequel of equine leptospirosis. Equine leptospirosis caused periodic ophthalmia. Chlamydia can be stained with of the following stains except Grams stain. Grams stain do not stain chlamydia, but chlamydia can be stained by Machiavello stain, Jimenez stain, and Castaneda stain. Machiavello, Jimenez, and Castaneda, Jimenez, and Machiavello stains can stain chlamydia but cannot be stained. Chlamydia cannot be stained with gram staining. Tuberculin test is based on delayed hypersensitivity. Calf hood vaccination is advisable for brucellosis. The germ tube production is characteristics of Candida albicans. Experimentally, Mycobacterium leprae can be cultivated on 9-banded armadillo. Viruses that exist in cells and cause recurrent disease are considered latent. For transformation reactions, competent E. coli cells can be prepared by treating log phase E. coli cells with calcium chloride. Calcium chloride for transforming reactions. Competent E. coli cells can be prepared by treating log phase E. coli with calcium chloride. A DNA molecule from external source can be inserted into the host by following methods by all of above as heat shock treatment, electroporation, and liquefaction are the methods by which a DNA molecule from external source can be inserted into host cells. In a PCR reaction, two short oligonucleotides used with flank the DNA sequence to be amplified is called primer. The source of Taq polymerase used in PCR reaction is Thermus aquaticus. The source of reverse transcriptase enzymes used for complement DNA synthesis is both as Molony murine leukemia virus and avian myeloblastosis virus. These are the source of reverse transcriptase enzymes for complement DNA synthesis as Molony murine leukemia virus and avian myeloblastosis virus. Quantitative studies using PCR technique can be done with real-time PCR. Most type 2 restriction endonucleases recognize the cleaved DNA within the particular sequence of 4 to 8 nucleotides which have two-fold rational symmetry. Such sequence is called palindromes. Palindromes are the most type 2 restriction endonucleases recognized and cleaved DNA within particular sequence of 4 to 8 nucleotides which have two-fold rational symmetry. Two-fold rational symmetry are the palindromes. For restriction analysis of DNA molecule, the type of restriction nucleases used are type 2 restriction endonucleases. For restriction analysis of DNA molecule, the type of restriction endonucleases used are type 2 restriction endonucleases. Complement DNA can be synthesized on RNA template using the following primers all of above. Complement DNA can be synthesized as sequence specific primers, oligo-DT, and random hexamers. Isoschisomers and restriction enzymes which recognize and cut the same sequence. Isosomers and restriction enzymes recognize and cut the same sequence. What is the name of the main lymphatic duct that arises in abdomen? Cisterna chyli. Cisterna chyli is the main lymphatic duct that arises in abdomen. Cisterna chyli. CHYLI. Which type of the respiratory system is also responsible for production of sound? Larynx produces sound. Which muscle is responsible for increasing the volume of the thoracic cavity during expiration? Diaphragm. The basin-shaped structure in the center of kidney is called pelvis. Pelvis is the basin-shaped structure in the center of kidney. In which layer of the skin are the sensory nerve endings found? They are found in dermis. Dermis has the sensory nerve endings. Which is the most developed special sense in birds? Sight. A space between the incisors and cheek teeth of rabbits and rodents is known as diastema. Diastema is the space between two teeth, whether of animals or humans. Visceral skeleton present in camel. Visceral skeleton present in camel is os phrenic. Os penis is in dogs. Os is cordis is in bulls, and os phrenic is in camel. What is the type of placenta present in which? Zonary. Zonary is the placenta of bitch. Discoidal is the placenta of dogs. Cotyledonary placenta is of cattle buffaloes. Total number of incisor teeth in ox is 8. Outer covering of nerves is epineurium. Which one of the following is an exoskeleton? Hoof is an exoskeleton. Which one of the gland is an apocrine gland? Mammary gland is apocrine gland. Part of peritoneum that covers the fallopian tube with abdominal cavity is mesosalpinx. Which of the following plays a part in thermoregulation? Hair plays part in thermoregulation. Which of the following is used for predicting future performance of individual? Repeatability predicts future performance. The source to selection increases when proportion of individuals selected increases. The heritability of character in narrow sense will be more when it is controlled by genes with additive effects. The genotypic value of constitutive traits is sum total of gene effects. The specific combining ability of a line is due to gene effects all of above, as epistasis, dominance, and overdominance. The specific combining ability of a line is due to genes that affect epistasis, dominance, and overdominance. Dry period in buffaloes can be reduced by better management. The change in fat percentage when selection is made for higher milk production is due to indirect selection. The estimate of heritability of egg yield cannot be obtained by paternal half-sib correlation. Paternal half-sib correlation cannot estimate the heritability of egg yield, but the estimate of heritability of egg yield can be by a regression of daughter-on-dam, regression of daughter-on-sire, maternal half-sib correlation, but the estimate of heritability of egg yield cannot be by paternal half-sib correlation. The precision of heritability estimate is known as standard error. For selection of individuals for traits measured after life, we will prefer indirect selection, family selection, or pedigree selection. The regression of offspring on mid-parent provides the estimate of H-square heritability. H-square is the estimate that the regression of offspring on mid-parent provides. The accuracy of estimating breeding value of a sire increases by increasing the number of progeny of sire. The Osborne index for cochlear selection is based on information from dam and sire families. The generation interval can be reduced by using genetic markers. Diploid number of chromosomes in sheep is 54. Both hind limbs retained in the uterus beneath the body of the posteriorly presented fetus is breech presentation. Acute angulation of vertebral column of fetus causing dorsal approximation of its head and tail is schistosomus reflexus, the release of which hormone is associated with Ferguson reflex oxytocin. Penile transmissible neoplasia is observed in dog. Androgen binding protein is secreted by Sertoli cells. Eversion of Gallicapitus and crater-shaped depression in the nucleus is diadem effect. Diadem effect is the eversion of Gallicapitus and crater-shaped depression. Effecting a change in the presentation is known as variant. Variant is the change of presentation. Non-dilation of cervix causing dystocia in Eves is known as ringworm. Pattern assumed by semen during drying on glass slide is crenulation pattern. Crenulation pattern is the pattern assumed by semen upon drying on glass slide. Test used to know the functional integrity of sperm membrane is hamster egg penetration test. The end of distress period is due to regression of corpus luteum. In mare, transition from non-breeding to the breeding season is caused by a decrease in melatonin. Granulosa cells are similar cells to Sertoli cells in that both have FSH receptors. The blood-testis barrier is due to the presence of tight junctions between Sertoli cells. It has been demonstrated that dogs can be trained to detect stress in cattle. Which of the following senses is being used by the dog to accomplish this task of detecting stress? Smell. Intense educational activity for motivation and mobilization of community to action is known as campaign. Diagram presentation of facts or ideas is known as poster. Poster is the diagram presentation of facts and ideas. Campaign is the intense educational activity for motivation and mobilization of community. A statement of policy to guide decision and action in a consistent manner is philosophy. Philosophy is a statement of policy to guide decision and action in consistent manner. Call mode by farmers at veterinary hospital for getting information is called office call. A visual display which is never used alone for teaching program is poster. Cheapest, oldest and most effective aid of teaching is blackboard. Statement of assumption of validity of which is yet to be tested is known as hypothesis. Hypothesis is a statement of assumption validity of which is yet to be tested. A miniature replica of an object is model. A system of social relationships in and through which we live is known as communication. Combination of seeing, hearing and doing may help to retain 70% in teaching learning. Amul was established in 1846. Air and water are nature of goods are free nature of goods. Air and water are free nature of goods. The demand in salt is inelastic. AG mark indicates quality and purity. Top level function is known as administration. Herd registration scheme in Gujarat is running for the breed Gir cattle. The number of calving pen required on dairy farm depends on all of above as breedable females, fertility rate, calving interval. Breedable females, fertility rate and calving interval are the number of calving pen required on dairy farm. Dehorning in calves can be done at 7 to 0 days. Dehorning in cattle can be done at 7 to 10 days. The pulsation ratio in milking machine should be kept within the limit of 1:1 or 2.5 1:1. 1:1 or 2.5:1 is the pulsation ratio in milking machine. Major input for maximum contribution to cost of milk production is feeding. Feeding is the major input for maximum contribution to cost of milk production. The buffalo population in Gujarat 2007 is 8.77 million. Nilgai belong to animal in wild ruminant category. Gestation period of leopard is 92 to 95 days. Live birth of piglet in kilogram is 1 to 2 kg. Stag is the term utilized for castrated pig. Tongue rolling is the type of behavior in cow. Stereotyped cow. Pig farming is the most developed in West Bengal. Certification agency in organic farming is APEDA. Hisardale crossbred sheep bred developed from both Bicaneri and Australian Merino. Fat-tailed sheep bred found in India is Bhakarwal. Narrow band surrounding the yolk that is almost wide of blood vessels is known as stigma. Chicken lays eggs on successive days is known as clutches. Sometimes the infundibulum loses power to pick up yolks, and yolks accumulate in body cavities. Such an is called internal layer. Pigments responsible for eggshell color is produced by uterus. The brown color of eggshell is due to porphyrin. Preheating or pre-warming of egg is done before setting. Eggs of average size and quality incubated in air with 50 to 60% relative humidity. They lose 12% of initial weight within 90 days of incubation. Best time for artificial insemination to get maximum fertility in poultry is late evening. The ammonia concentration in poultry house shed should not be more than 25 parts per million. Nitrogen fixation is poor in cage house. Pullet grown during the period home most of the days have decreasing light is known as in-season flocks. Pullets growing during the period when most of the days have increasing light are known as out-season flock. Birds were placed in laying house just before the onset of egg production is known as housing. Replacing old males in flock with set of new and younger male after about two-thirds of egg production is known as spiking the flock. Spiking flock is the replacement of old males with new males. Distance between the bulbs in poultry house should be 1.5 times the distance from bulb to the bird level. Herpes simplex is herpes simplex seen in none of above. Volumetric method for determination of fat percentage of milk is Gerber method. Which of the disinfectant is effective against wide range of microorganisms in floor, wall and equipment? Caustic soda 5%. Coagulation of water by chemical is essential in rapid sand filter. The desirable limit for fluoride should be 0.2 mg per liter. In strong sewage, BOD is 300 mg per liter. Who was the first chief of VPH Veterinary Public Health in WHO? Dr. Martin Kaplan. Example of cyclozoonosis is both B and C and Asteniasis and echinococcosis. Example of algal zoonosis is protothecosis. In anthrax, by which reaction bacillus organism detected in blood smear, McFadden's reaction. Medium which is used in isolation of tuberculosis organism is Algae medium. Greenish color of water is developed due to alga flora. Ozone layer found at which layer 40 to 550 km. Optimum temperature range for adult pig is between 4 to 30 degrees centigrade. Which is iron bacterium both and B as Crinothrix and Gillionella. Incineration of carcass done by heating at which temperature 1300 degrees centigrade. Oxyurea equi are commonly known as pinworm. The condition sweating blood in horse is caused by Paraphilaria multipapillosa. Ceteria labiata papillosa of cattle causing lumbar paralysis in sheep and goat. Cyteria labiatopapillosa of cattle causes lumbar paralysis in sheep and goat. The largest nematode of domestic animal is Diaptophyma renale. Acute fasciolosis is common in sheep. Triclabendazole is a drug of choice for liver fluke. The blood fluke are usually present in mesenteric vein. Tinea multiceps is tapeworm of dog and its lateral stage present in sheep or cattle is known as Coinorus cerebralis. Sputum is a diagnostic material in two infections of dog, filariasis and angiostrongylite. Smallest and most pathogenic tapeworm of poultry is Divina proglottina, a common term for myiasis caused by members of the Califoridae is blowfly strike. Blowfly strike is a common term for myiasis caused by the members of Califoride. The larvae of Estrus ovis are commonly known as bots. Bots are the larvae of Estrus ovis. The condition false guid in sheep is called by Estrus ovis larva. Ornithodorus mobata is soft tick. Ornithodorus mobata is soft tick. Animal protozoa are unicellular and they are eukaryotic. Circling disease in cattle is caused by Listeria monocytogenes. Intranuclear inclusion bodies are seen in adenovirus infection. Nigri bodies seen in rabies, which are intracytoplasmic. Enlargement of bursa of Fabricius in poultry is seen in infectious bursal disease. Zebra marking is predominant feature of rinderpest. Contagious bovine pleuropneumonia differs from contagious caprine pleuropneumonia in sequestra formation. Which bacterium is predisposed by Fischella hepatica infestation Clostridium species? Which is the most potent aflatoxin B1? Curled toe paralysis in chicken is due to deficiency of vitamin B2. Manganese deficiency in chicken will lead to slipped tendon. Phosphorus deficiency in soil will dispose the cattle to botulism. Blackhead disease is predominantly a disease of poultry caused by a parasite. Which of the following is correlated correctly matched avian species has dry pus? Post-mortem of chicken shows foul smelly yellow-brown watery yolk, fibrinous perihepatitis. It's colibacillosis. Colibacillosis has foul smelling yellow-brown watery yolk and fibrinous perihepatitis. Hemorrhages at the tip of proventricular gland is the pathognomic lesion of Rannichet disease. The non-invasive confirmatory diagnosis of diaphragmatic hernia in buffalo is contrast radiography. Lip tech test is performed for the diagnosis of left displacement of abomasum. Metallic foreign bodies are mostly seen from reticulum. The basic cause of vagal indigestion of cattle is inflammatory conditions. Distal intestinal obstruction in bullock is diagnosed by upper rectal examination. Common set for obstructive uroliths in bullock is post-scrotal. The surgical correction of teat P in cattle is performed by teat tumor extractor. Umbilical hernia is most commonly seen in cattle. During surgery, arterial bleeding is controlled by hemostat. The best technique for making instruments germ-free is autoclave. Sweeney is characterized by atrophy of scapular muscle. Laminitis means inflammation of lamina. Treatment of upward fixation of patella is medial patellar desmotomy. Inflammation of stifle joint is known as gonitis. Oozing of inflammatory exudates at coronary band in horse is known as quitter. Which blood vessels does not bring deoxygenated blood directly to the heart? Pulmonary vein. If there is blockage between atrioventricular node and atrioventricular bundle, how will this affect the appearance of EKG? There would be more P waves than QRS. A value damaged by rheumatic fever fails to open completely. This is known as stenosis. Stenosis is a valve damaged by rheumatic fever. According to Frank Starling's law of heat, carbon monoxide is directly related to amount of blood returning to the heart. The T wave on the EKG represents ventricular repolarization. Cardiac output is equal to HR into SV. Which of the following represents the outermost layer of the heart, epicardium? Which of the following cell types is responsible for skeletal muscle regeneration? Satellite cell. Satellite cells are responsible for skeletal muscle regeneration. How many T tubules lie within the single skeletal muscle sarcomere? Two T tubules lie within the single skeletal muscle sarcomere. The connective tissue layer that bundles skeletal muscle fibers into fascicles is the perimysium. The connective tissue layer that bundles skeletal muscle fibers into fascicles is perimysium. An overlap of actin and myosin filaments occur in the A band. Which of the following does not describe skeletal muscle fibers? Branched. They may be striated, typically voluntary, multinucleate, but never branched. The skeletal muscles are not branched. Which of the following cells is responsible for myelin formation in peripheral nervous system? Schwann cells are responsible for myelin formation in peripheral nervous system. The peripheral nervous system includes the somatic nervous system. A neuron with many short dendrites and a single long axon is multipolar neuron. Great dose response curve has shape of hyperbola on simple graph paper and S shape on semi-log paper. Grade dose response curve is shape of hyperbola in simple graph paper and S shape on semi-log paper. Which of the following inhibits uptake of acetylcholine into vesicles? Visemicol. Visemicol inhibits uptake of acetylcholine into vesicles. Which of the following is G protein coupled receptors? Muscarinic and nicotinic receptors are the G protein coupled receptors. Which of the following is used in treatment of myasthenia gravis? Neostigmine is used to treat myasthenia gravis. Which of the following is used to relieve of hives in horse? Atropine can relieve hives in horse. Which of the following drug increases blood pressure, heart rate, and force of contractions? Epinephrine or adrenaline. Which of the following is not a saline diuretic? Magnesium sulfate. What is the site of action of carbonic anhydrase inhibitors? PCT. In PCT is the site of action of carbonic anhydrase inhibitors. In which of the following animals emetics are not used? Cattle can never use emetics. Furosemide, name as Lasix, causes all except oligouria. Furosemide can cause metabolic alkalosis, it causes hypocalcemia, it causes hypokalemia, but furosemide do not cause oligouria. Generally, with which of the following is the correct order as dosage is increased? ED50, TD50, LD50. ED50, TD50, and then LD50. Which of the following is considered the therapeutic index? Therapeutic index is equal to LD50 divided by ED50. Which of the following is considered the brand name? Crocin is the brand name. The genera are the paracetamol, beta blocker, of labor, etc. But Crocin is the brand name. Which of the following is not a protein target for drug binding? Ion channels are not the protein target for drug binding. The general steps in the viral multiplication cycle are absorption, penetration, replication, maturation, and release. Absorption, penetration, replication, maturation, and release are the journal steps in viral multiplication cycle. In dog, canine adenovirus infection produces pink eye. Choose the laboratory animal most suitable for typing FMD virus. Weaned mice is the suitable for typing FMD virus. Biological vector of blue tongue virus is culicoids. Double-stranded segmented RNA with 10 to 12 segments is the feature of family Reoviridae. First anti-rabies vaccine was developed by Louis Pasteur. Separation of red blood cells from virus is called illusion. Separation of red blood cells from virus is called illusion or illusion, ELUTION. The viral agent produces diaphagic fever, respiratory distress, nervous symptoms, and heart palpitation disease in dog is called as canine distemper virus. It causes the diaphagic fever, respiratory distress, nervous symptoms, and heart palpitation disease in dogs. Canine distemper virus. Virus having RNA dependent DNA polymerase is a retrovirus. Retrovirus is the virus having RNA dependent DNA polymerase. Chickenpox in man is caused by a herpes virus. Chickenpox in man is caused by a herpes virus. Swine influenza virus associated with current pandemic in humans is H1N1. H1N1 is the swine influenza virus associated with the current pandemic in humans. Chief source of leptospira is urine. Growth of Brucella organisms is favored due to erythritol. E. coli grows at 15 to 40 degrees centigrade. E. coli is a lactose fermenter. E. coli is motile. Spore forming bacteria are Bacillus anthracis and Clostridium. Isoschizomers are restriction enzymes which recognize and cut the same sequence. Recognize and cut the same sequence are the isoschizomers and they are restriction enzymes. Neoschizomers are restriction enzymes which recognize the same sequence but cut site vary. The enzyme used for joining two DNA molecules is DNA ligase. Which of the following has the highest density? RNA. Homopolymer tail can be added by using enzyme terminal deoxytransferase. The plasma which is maintained in the host cell in multiple copies are called relaxed. Relaxed is the plasma which is maintained in the host cell in multiple copies. The plasmid which is maintained in host cell in limited numbers is stringent. Stringent is the plasma which is maintained in limited number of copies, and relaxed is the plasmid which is maintained in multiple copies. RNAs that catalyze biological reactions such as self-splicing introns are known as ribozyme. Ribozyme are the RNAs that catalyze biological reactions such as self-splicing introns. The 2 micrometer plasmid is found in Saccharomyces cerevisiae. Which of the following statement is true for life cycle of lysogenic phages? Phage DNA is integrated with the host DNA and retained for several generations. Genes cloned with M13 based vector can be obtained in the form of single-stranded DNA. At 600 nanometer, 1 unit optical density of E. coli culture corresponds roughly to 1 into 10 raised to power 9 cells per ml. 1 into 10 raised to power 9 cells per ml. At 600 nanometer, 1 unit optical density of E. coli culture responds roughly to 10 raised to power 9 cells per ml. EDTA present in lysis solution has following functions, both of above, as chelates magnesium plus 2 ions and thus inhibits the activity of enzyme DNase. Removes magnesium plus ions that are essential for preserving the overall structure of cell envelope. It is the function of EDTA that presents in lysis solution. Which of the following match is incorrect? Isoamyl alcohol do not precipitate DNA, but these are correct that SDS causes cell lysis, EDTA causes chelating of magnesium plus 2 ions, and proteinase K cause degradation of protein. STS cause cell lysis, EDTA cause chelating of magnesium ions, and proteinase K cause degradation of protein. CTAB used in isolation of DNA from complexes with DNA. CTAB is used in isolation of DNA forms complexes with DNA. Guanidinium thiocyanate is useful in DNA isolation because it denatures and dissolves our biochemical substances other than nucleic acid. And guanidine thiocyanate is useful in DNA isolation because in its presence DNA binds tightly to silica particles. Guanidinium thiocyanate is useful in DNA isolation because it denatures and dissolves all biochemical substances other than nucleic acid. And guanidinium thiocyanate is useful in DNA isolation because in its presence DNA binds tightly to silica particles. Which of the following type of placenta is found in goat? Cotyledonary. Zonary is in cat and dogs, and discoidal is in cats and dogs. Lymphatics are absent in brain. Lymphatics are absent in brain. The pancreatic acinus is characterized by presence of centroacinar cells. The acentric placed central artery is found in spleen. The Purkinje cells are found in cerebellum. Tendon cell is fibroblast. Which of the following placenta is present in mare diffuse? Cotyledonary placenta is in cattle and buffalo, and discoid and zonary is present in cat and dogs. Diffuse placenta in mare. Which of the following nerve is largest cranial nerve? Trigeminal nerve. Which of the following contains cerebrospinal fluid? Subarachnoid space contains cerebrospinal fluid. Which of the following ligament is great importance for treatment of upper fixation of patella in bullock? Medial patellar ligament. Which one of the following species presents single occipital condyle in skull? Poultry has single occipital condyle in skull. Which one of the following animal vomits only through nostril because of its very long and well developed soft palate? Horse. Horse vomits only through nostril because of its very long and well developed soft palate. Animal which walks on the hoof is called unguligrade. Unguligrade or unguligrades walks on the hoof. Which type of placenta presents in cow? Syndesmocorial. Syndesmocorial is the type of placenta of cow. Which of the following animal presents ovulatory fossa in ovary? Mare. Which of the following structure produces voice in fowl? Syrinx. Syrinx produces voice in fowl. Which is the space present between vertebral canal and spinal dura mater? Epidural space is the space between vertebral canal and spinal dura mater. Which of the following vein is called as milk vein in cow? Subcutaneous abdominal vein is called as milk vein in cow. Subcutaneous abdominal vein. All the spinal nerves are of mixed type. Which one of the following fetal membrane encloses embryo in fluid sac? Amnion. Amnion encloses the embryo in fluid sac. Down syndrome is example of trisomy. Outward expression of trait is called phenotype. Color blindness in humans is a sex-linked trait. What should be the performance of progeny above the herd average in order to declare the bull as proven bull? 20% should be the performance of progeny above the herd average in order to declare the bull as a proven bull. The nullisomy is an example of aneuploidy, the structure change in chromosome in which segment is oriented in a reverse order is called inversion. The regression of offspring in mid-parent value estimates H square or heritability. The regression of offspring on mid-parent value estimates H square heritability. The crisscross pattern of inheritance is seen in sex-linked trait. The sudden heritable changes in genetic material is called mutation. Mutation resulting from replacement of base pair of purine with purine or pyrimidine with pyrimidine is called transition. The coiling pattern of shell in snail is an example of all of above, as the coiling pattern of shell in snail is example of extranuclear inheritance. Coiling pattern of shell in snail is example of maternal inheritance. Coiling pattern of shell in snail is example of cytoplasmic inheritance. In summary, coiling pattern of shell in snail is example of extranuclear inheritance, maternal inheritance, and cytoplasmic inheritance. The sex index X by A value of 0.5 in Drosophila indicates normal male. Normal male has the sex index X by A value of 0.5 in Drosophila. Genotype of purebred P-combed birds is RRPP. RR small r capital P is the genotype of purebred P-combed birds. The phenotypic ratio of recessive epistaxis is 9:3:4. 9:3:4 is the phenotypic ratio of recessive epistaxis. The medium-sized milch breed of buffalo which requires less maintenance is Surti. Central Institute of Research in Goat is located in Makhdoom. Borola gene in Garoli sheep refers to fecundity. Borola gene in Garol sheep refers to fecundity. Choose the choice of exotic breed for improving milk production in cattle in hilly areas is Jersey. Jersey is the choice of exotic breed for improving milk production in cattle in hilly areas. Red Kandhari cattle belongs to Maharashtra. The exotic cattle breed of choice for improving milk production is Holstein Friesian. Holstein Friesian is the exotic cattle breed of choice for improving milk production. Vibrio in a herd can best be diagnosed by vaginal mucus agglutination test. Vaginal mucus agglutination test detects Vibrio. Induction of stress by premature regression of corpus luteum can be done by using PGF2 alpha. PGF2 alpha can be used for induction of stress by premature regression of corpus luteum. Under which of the following condition animal is acyclic? None of this. Time of ovulation in cow is 10 to 15 hours after the end of estrus. Flayman's reaction is not observed in bear. The condition in which fetal bones crepitate within the uterus on rectal examination is maceration. Maceration is the condition in which fetal bones crepitate within the uterus on rectal examination. The true bacterial venereal disease is campylobacteriosis. Endometrial cups secrete pregnant mare somatoserum gonadotropin hormone during 40 to 120 days. They are secreted from endometrial cups, in which the abdominal palpation can be best performed for early pregnancy during 28 to 32 days. Which of the following vulval suture technique has the least advantage for retention of prepartum cervicovaginal prolapse? Boehner's suture. Which of the following vulval suture technique has the least advantage for retention of prepartum cervicovaginal prolapse? Boehner's suture. Kuboni test is done to detect presence of estrogen. Estrogen can be detected by Kuboni test. Defective fetal deglutition is thought to be one of the causes of hydroamnios. Defective fetal deglutition is thought to be the cause of hydroamnios. Buller cow is representing the follicular cyst. Yellowish or whitish, thick, opaque uterine secretion nourishing the ovum and embryo is called uterine milk. Uterine milk is the yellowish or whitish, thick, opaque uterine secretion nourishing the ovum and embryo. Length of distress period of a stress cycle in bovine is 13 days. It is the length of distress period of a stress cycle. Period of embryo in cattle is 30 to 45 days. Free-mitis can be best felt earliest during pregnancy in cattle 90 to 120 days. Causative organism for contagious equine metritis is Tailorella epigenitalis. Tailorella epigenitalis is the causative agent for contagious equine metritis. Abortion strom is a characteristic sign of brucellosis. The location of seminal vesicles in bovine is caudal to bladder around the neck of bladder. The location of seminal vesicles in bovine is caudal to the bladder and around the neck of bladder. Head office of Directorate of Marketing and Inspection is located in Faridabad. The CACP headquarters is located in Delhi. It is sheep breed with high fecundity of trait. Garole ringing is the practice followed by sheep owner as clipping of hair around penis. Clipping of hair around penis is the ringing, and this practice is followed by sheep owner. Milling is the process of wool related to raises individual fibers on surface. Milling is the process of wool related to raises individual fibers on surface. Low burr count (LB). Low burr count is graded in wool at burr content level below 3%. Woutha Fair. Woutha Fair is famous for trading donkey. It is location where disowned and orphan animals are kept. Panjrapol. India ranks total milk production in world first. Gujarat has total breeds of buffaloes 4. First ring on horn at the age in cattle is at 5 years. At 5 years of age, there is first ring on horn at cattle. Principal object of running dairy farm is milk production. Sahiwal cow is breed pertaining to the group milch. Calf starter is fed for calf. Nose ring should be applied in bull at the age of 2 years. Hormone responsible for milk letdown is oxytocin. Dehorning is bull is done in the calf at the age of 4 to 10 days. Common chemical used for dehorning is HCl. It is not a sexual behavior of bull reactivity. Banas Dairy is located in Palanpur. Khillar is breed found at Karnataka. Calf starter is fed liquid feed for calf. Calcium requirement in layer poultry per day is about 3.5%. Incubation period of chicken is 21 days. Nutritional rope in poultry is due to deficiency of vitamin A. Which of the fowl has single medium wattle? Jawan jungle fowl has the single medium wattle. The best breed for using as male line in broiler production is Cornish. Cornish is the best breed for using as male line in broiler production. Corning is the male for broilers. White leghorn are white because a dominant gene which inhibits color. White horns are white because a dominant gene inhibits color. The wild mallard is the ancestor of all domestic duck breeds. Wild mallard is the ancestor of ducks. The black and white bearing in beard plymouth rock is due to sex-linked gene bearing gene. Black and white bearing in beard plymouth rock is due to sex-linked gene. The wild mallard is ancestor of ducks in sex-linked cross involving bearing. The female parent is bear plymouth rock in sex-linked cross involving bearing. Female parent is bear plymouth rock in sex-linked cross involving silver and ground and gold. The silver gene carrying female parent is used in a sex-linked cross involving silver and gold. The silver gene carrying female parent is used in a sex-linked cross involving silver and gold. The gold gene carrying male parent is used in a sex-linked cross involving feathering gene. Late feathering female parent is used. Which one is sex-linked rapid feathering? Eggshell treatment is done to reduce the rate of carbon dioxide loss. Shank length and width is a good indicator of skeleton size. Shank length and width is a good indicator of skeleton size. Shank length and width is good indicator of skeleton size. Poultry need one more essential amino acid glycine than cattle. Glycine is the essential amino acid that poultry needs more than cattle. Hen's egg contains 6 to 7 grams of protein. Component of egg white having antibacterial activity is a lysozyme. Host which provides a medium for larval or asexual phase of life cycle of an infectious agent is intermediate host. Zoonotic diseases are perpetuated in nature by a single vertebrate species is direct zoonosis. Zoonotic diseases are perpetuated in nature by a single vertebrate species is direct zoonosis. There are the bacterial zoonosis, brucellosis, leptospirosis, listeriosis. Yellow fever is transmitted by Aedes aegypti. Endemic in bird population is apornitics. Zone comprises the ozone layer is stratosphere. Method of carcass disposal or burial. The term refers to smoke mixed with dust is smust. Smust is the smoke plus dust. Rotten egg odor in egg is due to hydrogen sulfide. Standard of ventilation is cubic space, air space or floor space. Standard of ventilation is the cubic space, air space or floor space. Type of transmission caused by physical contact is contact. Type test used for diagnosis of brucellosis in cattle is milk ring test. Yellow fever is caused by flavivirus. Constant presence of a disease or organism in community is called endemic. Disease is transmitted from man to lower vertebrate animal is called as zooanthropozoonosis. Unit of radiation is RADS. Who is the first chief of veterinary public health in WHO? Dr. Martin Kaplan. Test for residual choline is orthitolidine. Orthitolidine is the test for residual chlorine. The term referred to mixture of smoke and fog is smog. Ozone gas present in ozone layer of stratosphere is 2 to 3 mg per liter. Tick paralysis is mainly caused by ticks belonging to exogenous species. Accidental myiasis causing flies, musca species. Flea collar of dogs and cats are usually impregnated with Dichlorovas. Dichlorovas are impregnated for flea collars in dogs and cats. The condition butcher's jelly is caused by the larva of Hypoderma lineatum. Hypoderma lineatum causes the condition butcher's jelly. The two pairs of antennae are present in arthropod belonging to the class Crustacea. Formation of hairball in stomach of calves may occur due to lice infestation. Lice infestation may cause the formation of hairballs in the stomach of calves. Which of the following is not larviparous fly? Gastrophilus intestinalis. Gastrophilus intestinalis is not a larviparous fly. The following is known as wing louse of poultry. Lepurus capnis. Lepurus capnis is wing louse of poultry. The body of an arachnid. The body of an arachnid is divided into two parts, the anterior gnathosoma and the posterior idiosoma. The key role in the transmission of arthropod-borne disease is played by digestive system. Hexagonal discal cell is presented in the wings of Tibnus species. Wool staining in sheep is caused by Melophagus ovinus. Melophagus ovinus causes the wool staining in sheep. Brown dog tick is Rhipicephalus sanguineus. Rhipicephalus sanguineus is the brown dog tick. Gavac vaccine is used against Bovophilus microplus. Sweet itch in horses is caused by Culicoides robertsi. How many hosts are affected directly by arthropods? All of above are directly affected by infestation, bites, and anaphylactic shocks. How are hosts affected directly by arthropods? Hosts are affected directly by arthropods through infestation, through bites, and anaphylactic shock. The term entomophobia means a fear of insects. The term entomophobia means the fear of insects. Which of the insects listed below could cause myiasis? Screwworm. In insects, the body part which acts as protective structure and which provides for attachment of muscles is known as exoskeleton. Insects which possesses sponging mouth parts and do not bite are house flies. Which of the following is not correctly meshed? Sidrosis silica dust. Sidrosis silica dust is not correctly meshed. While zinc deficiency is in pig, epidemic tremor is by a virus and alkali disease is by selenium. Zinc deficiency is in pig, epidemic tremor by a virus and alkali disease is by selenium. Pachymeningitis is inflammation of dura mater. Liquefactive necrosis is most commonly seen in brain. Which of the following is correctly meshed? Lumpy skin disease is by a pox virus. Enlargement of sciatic nerve is seen in Merrick's disease. Epinosis is congenital lack of feathers in fowl. Epinosis is congenital lack of feathers in fowl. Which is incorrect about avian tuberculosis? Lungs are most commonly affected. But the right sentences are calcification is absent. Which is incorrect about tuberculosis? Calcification is absent in tuberculosis. Liver and bones are most commonly affected in tuberculosis, and intradermal test is performed on Vettel. The incorrect sentence is that lungs are commonly affected. Post-mortem of cattle reveals too much emaciated carcass. Mucosa of intestine through into corrugated folds. Most probable cause will be Johnny's disease. Postmortem of cattle reveals too much emaciated carcass. mucosa of intestine thrown into corrugated folds. Most probable cause will be jaundice disease. Spondylitis is inflammation of vertebrae. Which of the following is correct regarding poultry disease? Face is swollen and edematous in Haemophilus infection. In which outbreak at poultry farm maximum mortality of birds will be expected? Infectious laryngotracheitis is a disease whose outbreak at poultry farm will have maximum mortality of birds. Dolly's disease are toxic granules of neutrophils. Dolly bodies are the toxic granules of neutrophils. East Coast fever is caused by Theileria parva. Edema consisting of gelatinous material in neck and brisket region seen in cattle in hemorrhagic septicemia. Hemorrhagic septicemia has edema consisting of gelatinous material in neck and brisket region of cattle. Which is the main chemical mediator of inflammation? Histamine is the main chemical mediator of inflammation. Big liver disease is also known as infectious bursal disease. In Angara disease, the pathological finding is hydropericardium. In left-sided heart failure, the heart failure cells are seen in lungs. Sway-back condition is seen due to deficiency of copper, Cu. Most pathogenic species disease affecting snakes is salmonellosis. Salmonellosis is the most pathogenic species that affects snakes. Abnormal large amount of granulation tissue is common in proud flesh. Proud flesh has abnormal large amount of granulation tissue. Who introduced the basic principle of surgery? W.S. Halsted introduced the basic principles of surgery. Gangrene occurs most commonly in buffaloes at tail. Perianal hernia is common in adult uncastrated dogs. Peterson's block is practiced to anesthetize eye. Eye is anesthetized by Peterson's block. If the content of hernia is urinary bladder, then it is termed as vasicocele. Radial surgery is done to eliminate root cause. Pre-anesthetic medication is employed to make all of above as true. Induction of anesthesia, smooth recovery, complication minimum, animal more controllable. The anesthetic medication is employed for induction of smooth anesthesia, recovery of complication being minimum, and animal more controllable. Reaction of living tissue to injury is known as inflammation. Irreducibility of hernia is due to adhesion, strangulation, and incarceration. One of the following is the congenital defect of eye. Dermoid cyst is the congenital defect of eye. Exposure factor for taking radiograph is milliampere, kVp, and second. All of these are true, and the exposure factor for taking radiograph is milliampere, kVp, and second. Amputation of corn can be done under corneal nerve block and retrobulbar nerve block. Amputation of horn can be done under corneal nerve block and retrobulbar nerve block. Adhesion of iris to cornea is known as anterior synechia. Adhesion of iris to cornea is known as anterior synechia. Surgical operation of providing drainage from middle ear is known as bulla osteotomy. Bulla osteotomy is the surgical operation for providing drainage from middle ear. FD for taking diagnostic radiology should be 90 cm. Reflecting layer is present in intensifying screen. Frequency mainly used for the purpose of diagnostic ultrasound should be less than 2000 MHz, 20,000 MHz. Frequency mainly used for the purpose of diagnostic ultrasound should be less than 20,000 MHz. Barium sulfate is exclusively used for outlining alimentary tract. reducing agent used in X-ray developer is metol. Cells found in choroid plexus that secrete cerebrospinal fluid are ependymal cells. Ependymal cells are the cells that are found in the choroid plexus that secrete cerebrospinal fluid. Ependymal cells are the cells found in choroid plexus that secrete cerebrospinal fluid. Action potentials are conducted more rapidly in large diameter axons than small diameter axons. Neurotransmitters are stored in vesicles that are located primarily in specialized portions of axons. Which of the following organelles is responsible for the appearance of nasal bodies in the cell bodies of motor neurons? Rough endoplasmic reticulum are the organelles that are responsible for the appearance of nasal bodies in the cell bodies of motor neurons. Rough endoplasmic reticulum are the organelles that are responsible for the appearance of nasal bodies in the cell bodies of motor neurons. Which of the following structures is a component of reflex arc? All of above, as efferent neuron, and effector organ are the structures for reflex arc. The testosterone producing cell of testes are called Leydig cells. Leydig cells are the testosterone producing cells. An oocyte surrounded by one layer of squamous follicle-like cells is most likely a primordial follicle. Podocytes make up the visceral layer of Bowman capsule. Glucose is filtered and reabsorbed but not secreted. Glucose is filtered and reabsorbed but not secreted. While the kidney produces about 18 liters of blood-derived fluids per day, the amount that usually leaves the body is 1% or 1.8 liter. 1.8 liter is the amount that actually leaves the body, while kidney produces about 180 liters of blood-derived fluids per day. The fluid in the capsular space is similar to plasma except that it does not contain a significant amount of albumin. Aldosterone causes decreased urine output. Which of the following is not one of the three external coverings of kidney? Renal adventitia is not one of the three external coverings of the kidney. The addition of a strong acid to extracellular fluid would result in sodium carbonate. Severe vomiting can result in hypovolemic shock. A patient with hypovolemic tumor has hypersecretion of antidiuretic hormone. Which of the following blood pressure readings would be most likely for this patient? 165 by 100 should be for a patient with hypothalamic tumor has hypersecretion of antidiuretic hormone. The space in the middle of the thoracic cavity where heart resides is the mediastinum. Blood retention from lungs enters the heart through the left atrium. Blood returning from lungs entering the heart through left atrium. The precursor of ketone body is cholesterol. The intravenous dose is what is the bioavailability assumed to be 100%. Which of the following is not pharmacokinetic process? The drug causes dilation of coronary vessels. It is not a pharmacokinetic process. The drug causes dilation of coronary vessels. Which of the following has no side effect? None of above. Most drugs are either weak acids or weak bases. Which of the following enteral administration routes has the largest first pass effect? Oral route has the largest first pass effect. Which of the following would receive drug slowly? Fat would receive drug slowly. Pharmacokinetics is the effect of the body on the drug, and pharmacodynetics is the effect of the drug on the body. Which of the following is not an action of body on drug? Side effect is not an action of body on the drug. Which of the following is amount of drug absorbed per amount? Bioavailability is the amount of drug absorbed per amount administered. What type of drugs can cross the blood-brain barrier? Small and lipid-soluble drugs can cross the blood-brain barrier. Amino acid is not a phase 2 substrate. Amino acid is not a phase 2 substrate. Conjugation is phase 2 and not phase 1. Conjugation is phase 2 and not phase 1. What is the goal of cytochrome P450 system? Metabolism of substances and detoxification of substances. Metabolism of substances and detoxification of substances is the goal of cytochrome P450. Weak acids are excreted faster in alkaline urine and weak bases are excreted faster in acidic urine. Which organ is responsible for metabolism in the first pass effect? Liver. Liver is responsible for metabolism in first pass effect. Which determine the degree of movement of drug between body compartments? Partition constant, degree of ionization, and size. They are the determinants of degree of movement of drug between the body compartments. Partition constant, degree of ionization, and size. Which is responsible for agglutination of red blood cell in animal body? Ricin. Ricin is responsible for agglutination of red blood cell in animal body. Bovine bunker is synonym for urea toxicity. Bovine bunker is synonym for urea toxicity. Severe and acute pneumonia, drowning syndrome indicates probability of ANTU. All of the following except one is not used for doping in animal. Adrenaline. All of following one is not used for doping in animal. Adrenaline is not used for doping in animal. Furosemide can be used for doping in animal. Phenylbutazone can be used for doping animal. Steroids can be used for doping in animal. The dry matter requirement for goat is 6 to 8%. Naegler's reaction of Clostridium perfringens on egg yolk agar is due to lecithinase. Cytochemically, rickettsia are weak gram negative. Cytochemically, rickettsia are weak gram negative. Corynebacterium can be characterized as non-motile, non-sporing, aerobic, gram-positive bacilli. Corynebacteria are non-motile, non-sporing, aerobic, gram-positive bacilli. The cells parasitized in host by rickettsia are vascular endothelial cells. Vascular endothelial cells are the cells parasitized in host by rickettsia. Dimorphic fungi produces yeast type growth at 37 degrees centigrade and mold type growth at 22 degrees centigrade. Dimorphic fungi produce yeast 37 degrees centigrade and mold at type growth at 22 degrees centigrade. The organism present in high concentration in pigeon droppings is Cryptococcus neoformans. Cryptococcus neoformans is the organism present in high concentration in pigeon droppings. Which of the following is incorrect? Match. Acid fast staining. Staphylococcus is not acid fast stain, but Dynastain is for mycoplasma. Dynastain is for mycoplasma. Fontana stain for spirochetes. Machiavello stain for chlamydia. Machiavello stain for chlamydia. Fontana stain for spirochetes. Dyne stain for mycoplasma. Dyne stain mycoplasma, Fontana stain spirochetes, and Machiavello stain for chlamydia. Strauss reaction is positive for Brucella abortus, Pseudomonas meliae, and Actinobacillus ligneraceae. The Weil-Felix test is an agglutination reaction between antibody reaction against rickettsia and antigen from Proteus. Weil-Felix test is an agglutination test between antibody reaction against rickettsia and antigen from Proteus. Emvic pattern of Salmonella is minus plus minus plus. Virus having criss-cross pattern on its surface is contagious pustular dermatitis virus. Virus having cyclic DNA is papovavirus. Diploid genome is the characteristics of virus family Retroviridae. Retroviridae is diploid genome. Bovine viral diarrhea virus belongs to family Flaviviridae. Which animal is not susceptible to vesicular exanthema virus? Horse. Horse is not susceptible to vesicular exanthema virus. Samples suspected for pox virus are inoculated and embryonated eggs by the roots of CAM. Samples suspected for pox viruses are inoculated in embryonated eggs by the root of CAM, chicken amniotic membrane. I think bovine ephemeral fever virus. Bovine ephemeral fever virus belongs to family Rhabdoviridae. Rhabdoviridae is the family of bovine ephemeral fever or 3-day sickness. EDS 76 is adenovirus. Paired serum samples means serum sample collected at two different stages of a disease from an individual. Paired serum samples are serum sample collected at two different stages of a disease from an animal. Which of the following showing bionet density of DNA, RNA and protein is correct? RNA greater than DNA greater than protein. Maximum amount RNA, minimum of protein, intermediate is DNA. It is showing the bionet density of these, that maximum RNA, then DNA, minimum protein. Intercalation of ethidium bromide in DNA molecule will decrease the bionet density of DNA molecule. DNA molecule will further be decreased. It is already less than that of RNA, but its bionet density of DNA is further decreased if intercalation of ethidium bromide in DNA molecule. Exonucleases remove nucleotides one at a time from end of DNA molecule. Exonucleases removes nucleotides at a time from the end of DNA molecule. Endonucleases break internal phosphodiester bonds within DNA molecule. Endonucleases break internal phosphodiester bonds within DNA molecule. Exonuclease removes nucleotides at a time from the end of DNA molecule. Endonuclease break internal phosphodiester bonds between DNA molecule. The enzymes used to remove phosphate group at 5' end of DNA molecule is alkaline phosphatase. Alkaline phosphatase remove phosphate at 5' end. The enzyme used to add phosphate group at 5' end of DNA is polynucleotide kinase. Polynucleotide kinase add phosphate at 5' end DNA, and alkaline phosphatase remove phosphate at 5' end DNA. The enzyme that change the conformation of covalently closed circular DNA by introducing or removing supercoils is topoisomerase. Topoisomerase is the enzyme that change the conformation of covalently closed circular DNA by introducing or removing supercoils. EcoR1 produces sticky end. The specific position on a DNA molecule where DNA replication begins is called origin of replication. Origin of replication is the specific position on DNA molecule where DNA replication begins. An algorithm used to search homology is BLAST. The fact that not all codons are used equal frequency in the genus of a particular organism is called codon bias. The fact that not all the codons are used equal frequency in genes of particular organism is called codon bias. The technique that can be used to construct a clone counting by identifying overlapping fragments of clone DNA is chromosome bucking. Chromosome bucking is a technique that can be used to construct a clone contigue by identifying overlapping fragments of cloned DNA. The ability of two different types of plasmid to coexist in same cell is called compatibility. Compatibility is the compatibility of two different types of plasmid to coexist in same cell. The non-coding sequence within genes that do not translate into protein is intron. Intron do not codes. The introns are the non-coding sequences. Exons are the coding sequences. Introns, non-coding, and exons are the coding sequence within genes that translate into protein. The process of modification of RNA after transcription, in which introns are removed and exons are joined, is called splicing. Exons Introns are not coded, exons are coded, and these exons are spliced. That is the process of modification of RNA after transcription, in which introns are removed and exons are joined. Exons are coded, exons are sequenced and are joined by splicing. A relatively short fragments of DNA synthesized on the lagging strand during DNA replication is called Okazaki fragment. Okazaki fragment is a relatively short fragment of DNA synthesized on the lagging strand during DNA replication. Which of the following is not a stop codon? UAA, UAG, UGA are the stop codons. Stop codons are the UAA, UAG, and UGA. And AUG I think is start codon. I am not sure, but it is AUG is not the stop codon. Stop codon are UAA, UAG, UGA, UI, UJA, UAJ. Which of the following is start codon? Both are the start codon. AUG and GUG are the start codon. AUG and GUG are the start codon. Which of the following is incorrect about genetic code? It is ambiguous. Genetic code is not ambiguous, but the two sentences are it is not overlapping. Genetic code is not overlapping, and genetic code is not redundant.